Thank you for joining us. I am Nikki Maduro. This is the Nikki Maduro Show. She is Kim McAllister, and we are here to talk about a bunch of stuff. And look, I got to fix my camera because you're seeing too much. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. And we're going to talk SignalGate. We're going to talk about screwing seniors out of their Social Security. But before we get to all of that, if you guys can click the thumbs up button and help share the show with all of your friends. We love being here every single Thursday. We are a 100% crowdfunded show. And thank you, Pamela Kirby, for coming in with the $5 donation before the show even begins.
Nice.
Super stickers, super chats, our ways to support the show, of course, our Patreon. All the ways to support the show are in the show notes. And of course, at thenickymadoroshow.com. And we love you guys. Thank you so much for being here each and every Thursday. She has her hot toddy because Kim can't seem to get better. I have my cocktail for cocktails and news. So thank you guys.
I'm losing
for
my
being here.
voice, but that's okay. I mean,
She has this sexy voice going
this is
on.
good morning.
This is sultry,
This is
Kim.
whiskey, Whistle Pig whiskey, hot water, and honey.
Oh, hot toddy. I like it. It's perfect because she thought she had COVID, right? For all those that are just joining the show. She thought she had COVID. She took a test. She doesn't have COVID.
No COVID.
No COVID. So that's good. At least you don't have COVID. Because, I mean, geez Louise, it would suck if you had COVID on top of everything else you've been feeling lately.
Oh, so upset. No.
I would hate. I mean, I've been dealing with flu with the kids. I got my flu shot. I'm just telling you, and I'm not an every year flu shot person, and I know I've mentioned this before, but this was the year where, geez, if there was ever a year to get the flu shot, this was definitely the year to
With
get
your
it.
new job, you need all the shots.
Exactly. Like, stay away from me, you disgusting people. I love the kids. I'm just kidding.
You germ-ridden middle schoolers.
Exactly. So Kim threw in a story just really quickly at the top. If you guys aren't local to the Bay Area, it may not make sense to you, but there is a local radio station. So we were on a news talk station, Kim and I, KGO. And one of our sister stations was a sports station. It still exists, but in kind of a weird iteration.
You were amazing on that station, by the way.
So were you.
You were awesome. No,
so
really.
were you. Stop.
No.
But the sports station, KNBR, apparently has this story, and she just put it in. So KNBR, this is the headline, sports station, flooded with racist Homeland Security ads, and the hosts are pissed.
Yeah, they are.
Is this the one I was talking about last week or the week before?
Yeah.
It's the Christie Nomads.
Yeah, they spent more than $150,000 to flood local TV and radio markets with this advertisement. They spent at least $30,000 each on the Bay Area's top 4 broadcast TV stations, that according to the Chronicle and SFGate.
Yeah, they did.
The first few days the advertisement was on KNBR. They have this show in the afternoon called Dirty Work, and it's hosted by our friend Adam Copeland. And Copeland was on vacation, and he comes back, and he's got this ad running on this show. And he said, when I came back and heard the spot for the first time, I was furious.
Yeah.
And so he talks about it. And this is kind of something that's, I don't know, verboten. You should forbidden kind of in radio, where you don't really badmouth the ads because they're, that's what's making it giving you the ability to do your job.
What pays the bills, right?
The station on the air, right?
Absolutely.
But he doesn't hold back. He turns right around and says, I am pissed about that ad. He said, everyone should know that stupid ass racist Homeland Security ad that's airing on KNBR has nothing to do with KNBR.
Yes.
It's all from corporate. He said, I've sent an email. We're on top of it. If you've got stuff to say, call the wine line. We are.
Oh, there you go.
He said, nobody wants this on the air. This is absolutely a load of B. Nobody wants any of this, dude. That's what he said.
Well, I think it's one of those things where,
and I tell you, he's threatening to talk over the commercials as they aired.
Oh, I think that's, I don't know. So there's like FCC rules. I don't know if you can legally do that.
Well, I don't know if you can legally do that. They probably won't be able to pay you.
They won't be able to pay you.
No.
Yeah.
You can't sign an affidavit saying you ran an ad, because that's what you have to do in radio. You have to
sign the thing.
that you ran the advertisement, because the people can't be out listening 24/7 to every station they buy an ad on. So you sign an affidavit saying, I, Nikki and Kim ran this ad at this time, at this date on this station.
Right.
You can't sign an affidavit saying you ran the ad if no one can hear the ad and you're talking
Right.
over it.
Exactly. Now
Yeah.
here's the thing. And it's not exactly the same, but I kind of you made me think of something that happened kind of close to me. So I think that Adam is like, look, if you're listening to KNBR and you hear this racist ad, which many of us think it's just awful, right? So
Yeah.
stupid. And then you hear my voice right after it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm being complicit in it, even though we all know that the person just paid for the ad. It's not exactly the same, but down in my neck of the woods, all right, there is this overpass on southbound 101. Okay. And these people, they've been doing this shit since the stolen quote unquote election, where they have been having these Trump signs and Trump won the election. And it's still going on. I mean, I don't know what these people do every Friday. They're on the southbound 101 overpass and they hold these Trump signs. There's even now an upside down flag. And it made the news a few days ago that now there's a Nazi flag. Somebody was
I saw that.
posting
Yeah.
a Nazi flag. Now,
Yeah.
here's somebody on Facebook says that is a Democratic, person that's just trying to muck up the whole entire thing. This is my response to that. One, okay, I have a couple ideas. Okay, one, it's a straight up Nazi, right? Okay, there's the obvious one. Okay, two, it could be someone that's saying there's a Nazi in the White House, so we might as well put up the freaking Nazi flag, right? Three, it could be somebody that's literally just trolling the people. But here's my question to the people on the overpass that are like, he's not with us. You're standing there next to him, though. You're standing there next to him. I know that if I didn't support Nazis, the minute that friggin' flag came out, I wouldn't be anywhere near it. Just because I wouldn't want to be confused with being complicit with that message. And so that's my message to these Trumpers who love to be on the overpass every Friday afternoon. The minute that flag came out, you should have rolled yours up and been like, you know what? You're ruining it for the rest of us. I'm going to find a different overpass. But the fact that you still stood there and said, you know what? It's fine. You're standing with it. I don't give a crap that it's free speech. Blah. No, the fact that you still stood there and that was still okay. No, you're still there. You're still there.
Gordon says you're right. I would argue this, though. This is the United States of America, where we have free speech.
Mm-hmm.
You can be as long as you don't hurt anyone else, right? You could be a Nazi and have your symbols of hate,
Right.
and you can be right next to me, and I could be standing there with a symbol of love.
Right.
And that's what makes America great. And again,
Yeah.
freedom from speech is not freedom from consequences, because
Of
you could go
course.
to work the next day and they could fire you for being an a-hole,
Right.
right? But you have the right to say it and do it. And
Mhm.
so isn't that image of hate next to love, of two diametrically opposed opinions, what this country is based on?
I didn't see two diametrically opposed opinions. I saw Trump
Mhm.
flags and Nazi flags.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
saw Trump
Mhm.
flags and Nazi flags. And the Trumpers are saying that person's not with us.
Yeah.
But you guys keep being confused. It's really difficult when there's Trump flags, Nazi flags show up. It just seems to be a coincidence that keeps popping up. And you guys don't seem to have a problem with it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And yes, you're exactly right, Kim. You're free to do whatever you want. And you're
Mhm.
also free to roll up your flag and be like, I don't want to be associated with you.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just,
By the
again,
way,
go ahead.
regarding this whole KNBR flap,
Yeah.
Adam Copeland did not stand down. He
I
kept
love him. I
going
love
and
Adam.
going
Absolutely.
and going. He said This is absolutely insane that we're airing these spots.
Yes.
Absolutely insane. He said, I'm beside myself. The fact that we have to do these diversity and inclusion trainings here at work at KNBR
Oh,
and then turn around and they take money from Homeland Security to air this crap. He said, this is unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable. He said,
exactly.
I'm sure I'm going to get talked about this, and I could give a damn. It's racist and it's overtly over the top, and I can't believe we have to deal with this. And then his
Hmm.
co-host, Derek Papa, said, I'm 100% with you, but he tried to move on, and Copeland said, F Homeland
No.
Security. Copeland
Yes.
was like, I'm not moving on. This is crazy.
It's
And they
crazy.
they kept mentioning it for the rest of the week as well.
And then I'm
So,
sure people
yeah.
appreciated it. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure there was a bunch of people that were like, look, let's move on. I don't listen to KNBR to hear about politics.
Yeah.
There are people that are like that. Like I listen to KNBR to escape it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm listening to sports. It's opening day today, right? Like I want to listen to baseball. I don't want to
Mhm.
listen to politics. But they couldn't even get away from it on KNBR,
Yeah.
right? And I'm wondering if these freaking Department of Homeland Security people bought extra spots in California, right? In Bay Area cities on liberal ass stations. I would have
Well,
put it past them. You
it
know what
was
I
a
mean?
score buy because that's not what we do here. I mean, then we're not your base. You're not scoring
But
any points
they
here.
want to like they want to do the sanctuary cities. Where
They
else
do.
would you do these ads but in sanctuary cities, right?
Copeland makes a good point here as well in this SF Gate article. He said, anybody who watches sports knows that as a 35-year-old man, you're going to see the same types of ads on KMBR, right? It's going to be erectile dysfunction. It's going to be beer cans. It's going to be gambling.
Yeah.
And this DHS ad seems out of place. And I wonder, is it really though? Because if you're looking to target older men, maybe white men that
Mhm.
are, that are
Maybe.
affected by the erectile dysfunction, the beer cans, and the gambling ads, then maybe this racist ad, that's exactly your target audience. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
that's presumptuous of me. I don't know.
I just think that one, I think they're airing it in sanctuary cities because
Mhm.
they're making a point, right? Two, I think that maybe you are right that they are targeting a certain demographic.
Yep.
Perhaps they are, but I think that Adam is making a point because it hits home. You know what I mean? I and he can't be quiet, and I don't think he needs to be quiet.
Yeah.
And you know what? He doesn't have to be. You know, he's not the boss anymore, right? Because they
Yeah.
did make some sort of shakeup
Yeah.
again, and I'm sure he's really happy about it. I think I would never want to be boss of a
Can you
radio
imagine
station.
if he was the boss during this? That would be horrible.
No, I would never
And
want to
I
be.
love him, and you know what? He might not make it at the station. He might not last because of this, but he said this,
Nah,
"My morality with the job is what I decide my morality
exactly,
will be." He
exactly,
goes, "I'm gonna die on the right hill, and I try to die on the right hill more often than not. But when I have an
exactly.
opportunity to say something, I'm not just somebody who bites my tongue."
Right. And good for you. Adam,
Yep.
I stand and it again,
Mhm,
the articles in SF Gate, Adam Copeland,
mhm.
KNBR, you guys can see it there. sfgate.com for those that don't live in the Bay. And I applaud you, Adam. You're awesome. And um the people that you come from and your family, it doesn't surprise me at
Yeah,
all. You're great people.
absolutely.
So cut from some very good cloth there, but good for you. That's just too fun.
Speaking of that story though,
Uh-huh.
the Homeland Security, did you see Homeland Security Secretary is she's Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Homeland Security Barbie is what we call it because she can't seem to get
Homeland
out of the
Security
costume.
Barbie.
Right, yeah.
Barbie had her hair perfectly done in
Of
her
course.
curls. She
Yes.
had her flat iron and her beach waves.
Mhm.
She had her makeup perfectly.
Of course.
She had her, Lululemon fitted, tight, boob lifting shirt on.
Right. Mhm.
As she stood in El Salvador
Mhm.
in front of the prison uh rail, the door, the railings, you could see behind her stacks upon stacks upon stacks of these bald-headed, shaved prisoners
Uh-huh.
in El Salvador, and she said, "You see these guys behind me? This is what happens if you come to the United States of America. This is where we send you. This is where you will go.
Oh,
Don't come to the
geez. Are
United."
you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. It was the most distasteful thing as she's standing there for her photo op using these human beings. Listen,
It's because they caught the MS-13, one of the top MS-13 gang members, apparently, to distract from SignalGate, which we'll get to in just a moment.
I'm not a fan of gang members.
Of
I'm not a
course.
fan
Who
of
is?
rapists and murderers.
Right.
I believe they shouldn't be here. If you can give them due process and show that they are indeed who you are saying they are, and then send them back to the country from whence they came. But you don't take people who you haven't given due
Due
process, you don't
process.
know who they are,
Right.
and you certainly don't go down there and in the most distasteful manner stand in front of the prison grates or whatever you call the jail cell and do your little photo op where there's human beings inside that are suffering.
Mm.
I have a big problem with that. It's so awful.
Well, yeah. I think that the Trump administration, Kristi Noem, they're all trying to turn the page because, again, the headlines are not good for the Trump administration right now. SignalGate is just they can't walk away from it. They can't because you shouldn't be able to. I mean, again, and I know that it's just been overwhelming the headlines because it should. And obviously you all know by this point, if you unless you've been living under a rock, is that a poor journalist who, by the way, I don't know why they're bagging on this journalist. Loser, terrible reporter.
Like he did
He added.
anything.
He didn't do anything.
He's
You
going
added
along
him to
about
the
his
text thread.
afternoon, and all of a sudden a text arrives, and he's like, "Well, shoot,
What did
what's
I
this?"
do? You guys added me to the text chain. I didn't do anything. You guys did this to me. And now all of a sudden, the Atlantic is a terrible going under, publication. I'm a loser reporter. If I'm such a loser, why did you include me on this text thread? And who was it? One of the people that was on it. It's like, you mean you've never put in the wrong phone number to a name? No, that nobody
No.
does that. It's not it. No, I thought he was going to say, "Have you ever hit the wrong name?" But that's not even where he was going. He's like, "I have the wrong name with the wrong phone number." Nobody does that. I don't even understand how it happened, but it has. But the latest news, of course, is a judge has ruled that they have to preserve the text messages. Now, of course, it's the Justice Department, which I don't trust as far as I can throw them because this is the Trump Justice Department, which I don't trust to hold Trump accountable. So if they don't, or if they try to destroy it, is anyone going to be held accountable? But thank God, so many people that aren't supposed to have them have the texts. So in and of itself, there's people that have evidence. Now, here's my question to you, Kim. Obviously the text was initially released, and then the reporter released even more because they were saying it's not classified. And it's like, oh, it's not classified, then I'm going to release even more. And sure looks like you're giving all the war details, right? Should he have done that? I mean, to prove a point, I know, but should he have done that? Would you have done that
So
as a
yes,
reporter?
yes, and yes. And here's why. He didn't do it before the operation.
Yes, that's true.
He did it afterward. Everything was done, and no one was
And
at
that's
risk
how he
at
knew.
that
Well,
time.
that's how he proved that it was actually true.
That's right.
The
He's
bombs
like,
were falling.
"Gosh, is this a joke?" And then he looked at, the bombs are falling, where they're falling, what bombs are being used, exactly
Right.
what time.
Yeah.
And
He's
then
like,
he's
oh my
like,
God.
"Oh god, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah.
doing this." But it was over.
Yeah.
And then what I don't think he should have done was sign off of the text. Because when he realized that this was true, he said he left the chat,
Right.
right? He left the Signal chat. I think as a reporter, they don't know you're there. It's their mistake. They're bad. They're including you.
But
You
at some
stay
point,
until
well,
someone catches on and kicks you out. But
but then when's his story start? Like, when do you break the story then?
well, at that point, they probably would have seen it and kicked him out. But I would have let
Exactly. He
them
would
do
have been
that
kicked
and
out
not
anyway.
him.
He's like, oh, that's the
Right.
number that's not supposed to
But
be
who
there.
knows what he would have seen between then and there. But I think he was actually pretty responsible in not reporting it before, not putting American military members at risk.
Yeah. Oh, well, of
Things like this, like
course.
all of those things that
Absolutely.
there are reporters that probably would have or wouldn't have thought of that or the story would have come first or what have you. So I think in the scheme of things, they actually got lucky by adding that guy. Now, I read a piece in SF Gate by Drew Magary. And
Mhm.
he was saying the same thing. The guy shouldn't have backed out of the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
And he also said he's no fan of, is it Jeffrey Goldberg, who's the editor of The Atlantic, who's the one that
Right.
was added to the
Yeah.
chat? He said he's one of the people who was reporting erroneous information, which led us to go to the war in Iraq, that they're on the weapons of mass destruction, that,
Because he
you
was in
know,
charge of all of it, right? Because he's the one that dropped the bomb, whatever.
he
Okay, go
didn't
ahead.
like his reporting, thought his sources should have been better, thought what have you. But this is pretty straightforward reporting.
Yeah.
They added you to a chat. Here's what they said. Here's exactly what happened. You're not making it up. Oh, and by the way, here's all the evidence and in the form of the Signal chats, which, by the way, the Department of Defense or whoever it was, the spokesperson for the government confirmed, yep,
Mhm.
looks pretty real to me. This is exactly what the chat was. So, and then they started to say, Nikki, that this is a hoax. That this
Yeah, they
guy,
try to lie. It's not what it is. It is what it is.
what do you
It
mean it's a
is what
hoax?
it
They have
is.
the text. It's not a hoax. And the more they start blaming other people, and
Yeah.
the more they start this ridiculous,
It's not
they're kind of
classified
stumbling
BS.
all over themselves trying to make excuses, the more ridiculous they look, honestly. Right now they're lying, they're blaming, they're pointing fingers, they're falling all over themselves to keep their jobs, and it's really sad. It's very embarrassing.
Well, you know what obviously you can also tell because the Republicans are so good at having the talking point. It's a mistake. That is the talking point. You hear every Republican, it's just a mistake. We understand a mistake was made. We understand a mistake is made. We're moving on. A mistake was made. We're moving on. But obviously it was done. The attack, it was done with precision. It was a successful attack. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. That doesn't matter. Pete Hegseth, if anything, I was reading this great article on CNN, and if anything, this shows what the point that people were making during his confirmation hearings: inexperience. At the very least,
Mhm.
it shows how inexperienced he is, right? No experienced military person would make a mistake like this. To give the details, right? I know that it was Waltz that put Goldberg in, okay? Like we understand that. But Hegseth is the Secretary of Defense. He's the one that put those details
Mhm.
and he knew it in a Signal chat. He did that. He felt that platform was quote unquote safe enough to put those details in. And it's open source. That's his failure. He should be fired. He
What
should be
I'm
fired.
told is that they may use that platform because they thought, well, we don't want these records preserved in archives that are required by the government. And so we're going to use this chat because we don't have to save what we're saying here. I don't
Are we
know.
doing something wrong that we don't want preserved for some reason?
What
I
I do
mean,
know is that there were some of the members that were on the chat that were not even in the country. There were one of them at least was in Russia, right? And so if anybody's going to hack you, they know that you're a member of the Trump administration, and there you are on your cell phone on Signal getting
mhm,
national secrets. Come on,
yeah.
do
You know,
better.
and the
Do
fact that
better.
yeah, and the fact that Trump first was like, I don't know anything about it. Really? Like, first off, that shocked me when he first came out
Mhm.
and this first started breaking. I don't know anything about it. Then he's like, well, somebody screwed up. I'm butter emails. Remember? Remember her emails? Like, do we not remember that this was why we couldn't have a president Hillary Clinton? And I know that
Fancy
everybody has said it a million times, but give me a friggin' break here, people.
fancy that you would say that because Attorney General Pam Bondi, while talking about this today, she was asked whether the Department of Justice was going to investigate this Signal leak. They're calling it a leak.
Ugh.
It's
What
it's not a leak. No one leaked it. You added a guy because you're a bunch of bumbling idiots. She said this, if you want to talk about classified information, talk about what was at Hillary Clinton's home that she was trying to wipe.
Oh my God. Oh my
I
God. Oh
I
my God.
Pam Bondi is now doing a whataboutism to Hillary Clinton's butter emails. It is asinine. Like, that's your excuse? Well, Hillary Clinton did worse. Was it worse?
What did
No.
Hillary Clinton actually do? Did she give war plans to a journalist on an open source platform? Can you prove that? I know that we're dealing with an administration and a party that doesn't like proof, right? Like we I'm so frustrated by all of this. I know we deal with a party of hypocrisy, right? It's just so insane. But if this would have been the Democrats, there would have been, if this would have been the
Mm.
Democrats, let me just say this. Somebody would have been fired already. That's what the Democrats do. I'm sorry. Somebody would have already been fired. And I would have had no problem with it. If our Secretary of Defense on the Democratic side of the party did this, should be fired. I don't understand why anyone has a problem with that. You're a moron. You are a moron. It's just, it blows my mind that politics has to get involved in this. It's stupid.
There
It's
was
stupid.
a time during the Bush administration when I thought he's a dummy. No, he's not. I didn't think he was very smart. W, right? We were going to Iraq.
Yeah,
He was
exactly.
going mission accomplished on aboard the, air carriers, and there was no mission accomplished at all. I thought he was a bit of a dummy. But one thing I didn't think was that he didn't love America, or that we were somehow that the people that he appointed weren't up to the task, weren't up to the
Right.
job. And there were some big mistakes made, like going to Iraq on information that wasn't warranted, as we mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
But I didn't think back then. I didn't look at them and think they absolutely are going to get us in trouble. Like, they don't know what they're
They're
doing.
doing.
Like, this is
They don't know what they're doing.
absolute incompetence.
Yes.
This is a scary time, and we have people that are ridiculous. They are more than just kinda dumb. They are
They're
they have no
dangerous.
business.
Yes.
They have no they're to the point they have no business being in these positions that it is dangerous, as you
Right.
say,
Absolutely.
and that's
Exactly.
scary.
Yes.
First of all, I do doubt their love for this country and their love for democracy. I doubt that very much. And
Mhm.
this is the first time that I've ever really doubted that when talking about people in power. Perhaps I was naive in the past, but now I see it, and bigly, right? Thanks to Trump for that word. But the danger involved in having people that have zero clue
Absolutely.
what they are
Yes.
doing, that could get us in real trouble in America. I mean, we're you know, we're kind of in the past have run the show. We've got the big weapons. We're in large and in charge. We're the policemen of the world. People come to us.
We're losing that standing. We are
What is
losing that
happening?
standing. We're
Now we're
losing our allies. We're losing all of it.
Who are we now?
I don't know who we are now. I mean, we're picking fights with our allies. We're becoming isolationists, right? I mean, that's basically what we're trying to do. They're saying America first. We're going to do everything here. We have no infrastructure. We have no plan. I mean, all these people. So, talking about bringing American plants back here. Oh, Hyundai is going to build a car manufacturing plant in wherever, Louisiana or whatever state it was. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
One, when is that going to happen? And two, what if I want to buy a car in 6 months? Right? Like, I'm screwed. Like,
Yeah. There is
there's just
no
no long-term plan. And that's exactly, the world is laughing. And not only that, but I want to just transition now to the Social Security story,
mm,
because this pisses me off so much, because it's not only what I think is completely unfair, it is so cruel that I can't even stand it. So starting today, the Social Security Administration, which by the way, they fired like thousands of people from, are going to be clawing back overpayments from that program by 100% 100%. It used to be 10%. Okay. For
That's like
overpayments.
that's like when they pay you a little too much, then they give you time to pay it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, and it's mistakes that they likely made. Okay. So now this is like, okay, so for instance, you change a job. Okay. And maybe you didn't calculate it properly or let the social security company know. Like things, people make mistakes all of the time. Very common mistakes. If you didn't make the right adjustment or something like that, and maybe you got paid a little bit too much, that's what they're going to take back. And it used to be they take it back in little increments. Well,
Right.
now they're going to take it back 100% of your check until they get repaid. Now, if there's a mistake or if you want to, correct it or see if maybe you can get, it take a reduced amount or maybe you could get it waived, maybe you want to call the Social Security Administration. Well, guess what, my friend? There's fewer people working for the Social Security Administration. I wonder if there's a coincidence between reducing the number of people working for an organization or an agency and then totally effing it up, right? Oh, you can call them. There's probably not going to be anybody to answer the phone. These are people largely, well, that paid into the damn system all their lives. And now when some of them, they depend, I know that people are like, you shouldn't depend on Social Security. Some people friggin' do, okay? Some people do. To take 100% of that check. It's like, you ever see Goodfellas? It's like, F you, pay me. You know what I mean? It's like, how can you do that to people? I just don't get
I
it.
think it's not good for the country either. What we don't want in communities is more homeless people, right?
Right.
If there is a way for us to keep you in your house and keep you as a functioning member of society, then we should go, yes, let's go on that avenue. This is
Right.
good for all of us, right? So if you've been overpaying someone for a year, realized it, and then instead of having them pay it back in small 10% increments, you just say, all right, well, we're taking 100% back right now. That leaves someone without the ability to pay their
Yep.
rent for that month or their mortgage for that month or buy food
Mhm.
for that month or whatever it may be. So what happens then when 100% is clawed out of their social security check and they don't get social security for 2 months because the government is doing this 100% clawback? What happens?
Yep.
Then you get people that are struggling, that are going to food banks, that may lose their homes, and that's the better avenue? I
Right.
don't think
That's
so.
better?
Well, it's not, it's very short-sighted. We want our money now,
Right.
right? It's not the longer view, which is, listen, it's the government. We can afford to go without all of our money back for the next couple of months. We can afford to let you dole it back to us. And that way, you get to live your life and stay in your home, and we still get our money back. But it's very short-sighted. It's not long-term picture at all for what's
Yeah,
better for everyone involved.
exactly. And
I mean, that's the way I
again,
see it. Tell me if I'm wrong.
no, exactly. I mean, that's how all of this should be.
Mhm.
Um, Doge, which is this, what I think, just cut, mindless cutting. Just we're just going to cut thousands of people from this agency and thousands of people from this agency with no real plan of one, what did those people do? Right? What were their jobs? But two, what are those people supposed to do now? Like, what is your message to these Americans? What is the age? You were talking about, homelessness. What is the
Mhm.
average age of the people that you're firing? Do you even know? Are you firing largely 55, 60-year-old people that have a lot of good years left in them,
Right.
but may not be easily hired? And you know that? Like, now they're going to be on the dole. You're cutting social security. Like, you are creating a whole nother problem. You put this video in of Elon Musk and the Doge team. I want to play a little bit because apparently we're hearing from him. I'm just gonna play it from the beginning because I haven't watched it. But again, I don't understand how they can just blatantly cut all of these people, and they're like, "Yeah, mistakes." And I'm putting this are going to be made because we can't do anything perfectly.
No.
But my question to them always is the collateral damage It's not like a building or breaking eggs. These are people's lives. What was the plan? Did you have a plan for these people's lives? Because there should have been one. Here's the video of them. Let's see here.
You can kind of needle drop because it's an interview with Musk and the Doge team.
Okay, let's hear.
You can exploit that gap, and fraudsters exploit that gap, take advantage. If, for example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Well, actually, to add to,
I'm just going to stop that bullshit right there. Prove it. That's the other thing. This is what pisses me off about Elon Musk and Doge. Show me the paperwork. I feel like he's like Trump. He throws out numbers like the people are taking Social Security that are 130 years old or whatever. Prove it. Prove it that it's not a computer problem like the Social Security thing was. He says these things without proof. I want proof from Doge of every effing thing that he's claiming.
there's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
He's so full of shit.
Definitely
Small business loans.
Correct.
yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake. Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And
Or it could be a
we should
computer
not be
problem.
giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's Social Security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating.
Okay, I will buy that.
It's literally a baby. The terrible things are being done is what we're saying.
That's fraud.
And we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
well, we are stopping
You are
it.
stopping it.
The reason this is
Absolutely.
happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix
Yes.
eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are
Yes.
you
So one of the ways
surprised?
that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live and as sort of just that Social Security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because
Okay, well, this is just all about fraud. I mean, I agree with all of that. I mean, I agree with that. If you're going to cut down fraud, that's fine. I have a problem with people getting fired, though. I have a problem with people losing their jobs because of this. I want him to prove that somebody that he has fired is actually waste. That's what I want him to prove. I want him to show that he knows what these people do, that it is redundant. And I don't think that he's done his due diligence. That's what I don't believe he's ever done. That's what I don't believe he's done. Rev says this is their MO, claim fraud, then cancel the program. I do believe that there are people, and I've heard this before. This isn't the first time we've ever heard these stories. We've heard it in the news. I have heard that parents will do this. Terrible parents will do this. They'll have children, they'll get their Social Security numbers, and they'll get credit cards in their name because they've already ruined their own credit. That has happened. And that's not a new story. That isn't. But it's not fraudulent. It's a parent screwing up their own kid's credit card or their own credit. That's not what he's talking. You know what I mean? Like, the person does exist. The 9-month-old, the parent stealing their credit card number or Social Security number does exist. The system could be better. I agree. Pamela says, listening to him makes my blood boil. He's a welfare recipient from American taxpayers who funded Tesla in its beginnings. Yes. Thank you, Pamela.
Mhm.
He is the epitome of pulling the ladder up after you. He is the epitome of someone who has taken government handouts and then pulled it up after he made his billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You are so right, Pamela. He's awful. He's just an awful human being. And he bought the presidency, and he's trying to buy this Wisconsin state Supreme Court seat. Have you been following this nonsense
No.
in
What's this
Wisconsin?
about? Mm-mm.
Oh my God. He's literally given someone in Wisconsin $1 million. He had another one of those raffles. Like those, if you sign this petition, your name goes into a raffle for $1 million. Someone in Wisconsin was just given $1 million from Elon Musk. They're
Oh.
trying to buy this seat on
Their
the state
votes.
Supreme Court in Wisconsin because that court is deciding some sort of case over Tesla.
Oh.
I am telling you, it is so effing corrupt. And
And
he's
isn't it?
buying it.
Is this where Elon is offering people $100 if they sign a petition to get rid of a judge?
Well, it's a judge. It's a race. It's a race for a state Supreme Court seat. But he's not calling it that. He's doing it. Sign the petition to keep judges nonpartisan. He's not saying it's for that because you can't do that. That's illegal, Kim. That's illegal. Right. You're just signing a petition to say that you want to keep politics out of courts. He is such an asshole. I mean,
He says in this video, part of this long-winded video that we rolled part of, that he doesn't think he'll be working at Doge much longer.
I hope not.
He says
I hope he goes away.
That he will reach the goal amount of government waste and fraud removal within his 130 days mandate.
He better, because he can't be on the dole anymore.
The legal time frame for how long he can stay on the job. But do you think we'll really be done with him?
No.
He might not be the face of Doge anymore once he, is done with wielding his chainsaw to the government. But I think he still bought the presidency and his fingers are still going to be twiddling around in the wheels of government.
Yeah. He's so dirty. And am I just the only one? Like, can I just be petty right now? Doesn't he look like a villain?
Totally looks like Dr. Evil.
Like every picture, he looks like a villain. Like if I had to make, a movie.
$1 million. He
like
totally looks like him.
Jesus, Lord Almighty. I'm sorry. Let's go on to some other things that are happening. Did you see this in Florida? Florida is debating lifting some child labor laws to fill jobs vacated by undocumented immigrants.
Because that's better, right? That's
kids,
better. Let children work the overnight shift. Clearly, you know what that means to me? It means we have a shortage of workers in the United States of America. Yeah. Perhaps you shouldn't be so hasty to pack people up and ship them back from home for where they came from. Maybe we actually need them, you bunch of morons.
Well, they advanced a bill that would loosen child labor laws, allowing children as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts. If it passes, teenagers would be able to work overnight jobs on school days, which doesn't make sense. They're currently prevented from working earlier than 6:30 in the morning or later than 11:30 at night per state law. I don't understand in what world a kid should work overnight on school nights. How? Unless you don't care that they get an education, which they're getting rid of the education, and maybe Florida.
Of course, they don't care if people get an education because they like the uneducated. That's just building more of a base for them.
Yeah, I mean,
we know 14-year-olds. We know 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and what we know about them, Nikki, you and I, is that these teens need their sleep.
Yes.
If they don't get their sleep, they are not okay.
They're not going to learn.
Physically, they need their sleep. This is a developmental time. It's a developmental portion of their life where they do physically need more sleep. So you're going to send them to school, and then you're going to make them work all night, and then you're going to make them go back to school the next day. I would argue, even if it's a weekend, kids shouldn't be staying up throughout the overnight. They need to sleep.
They need a lot of sleep. It's when their brains rest and their bodies grow and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and not only that, I don't want my 14-year-old in a building by themselves often or overnight at night. I don't want it. No. That seems dangerous to me. Yes. I mean, they're children. They're 14 years old. I'm sorry. No. But yeah, so Florida's doing that. I don't think that it should pass. I think that children, if it's I'll say this. On weekends, if you want to extend it and the parent says it's okay, I think the latest, I don't even know what the current law is. Forgive me, my children haven't started working at a place like that yet. 10:30 on the weekend, okay.
Mhm.
That's about as late as I would want my kid to work. And I don't think 14 though. 14 seems way too
Mm-mm.
young. 16,
No.
17,
I
maybe.
don't even think it's okay on the weekends. I just feel like kids, I mean, what I think the current law is they can't work more than
A few hours, like
6
3 hours
hours, and they can't work
total, something like that,
and
right?
they can't work, like, so close to a certain number of hours away from school hours.
Yeah.
There's certain rules, at least in California, there are certain rules,
Well, California's
because
not Florida.
what they're asking is to roll, I guess, what do they say? MAGA wants to go back in history, like, roll back to the golden era or the golden age. So, is that the age when the Industrial Revolution was underway, when children were working in factories instead of going to school?
Their tiny little fingers can get into all those little slots.
There you go. So that feels like what we're doing. Before we had unions, before we had rules to protect people, before
Mhm.
we had rules, safety rules in the workplace, these, all industry all the time,
Yep.
anything to make the industry stronger and better. Screw the people.
Yep.
So what do you have? A class of uneducated people who are then relegated to working in factories. Is that what we want for our children? Because I can tell you that's not what I want for my children.
No, I want my kids to be like, obviously I want my kids to have a work ethic. I don't want
Right.
them to be working around the clock. And I sure as
Yeah.
hell don't want them working overnight hours. Yeah, they have exactly. I tell these kids that I work with, I swear to God, I have kids at my school. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. They can't wait. They're like, I don't want to be in school anymore. I just want to go work. I'm like, oh, please stop. I'm like, this is the only time in your life where your job is to go to school. That's all. Just freaking go to class. That's all you have to do. Someone's feeding you, someone's putting a roof over your head. Just go to school. That's it. My husband says it to my kids all the time. Your job is to go to school, to study and go to school. That's all you have to do.
Right.
And it's the only time in your life where you're gonna pray you can go back to when you're an adult. So
I don't
enjoy it.
feel like it's bad for a kid to have a job, a
Oh
first job,
no,
a
absolutely.
paper route, or a job at the movie theater on the
Yeah.
weekend
No, my
evenings,
kid's
or
gonna have a job. Yes.
whatever it might be. There's a difference between that and, all right, 14-year-old, get your ass up and go to the factory overnight.
Overnight.
There's a big
No.
difference.
Yeah, no. Well, speaking of working, go ahead.
It
Do you
just
have on that?
it just makes me, my mind, Nikki, I can't get the Industrial Revolution factory kids out of my mind. Do you think that's really what they want? Do
I
you
think
think that
what they
kids will
want is
go
them working the
Trump's
farms,
golden
Kim.
era?
I think they want them working the farms. I think they want them working in the places where these undocumented, whatever job the undocumented immigrants were working in Florida is where they want the children, Kim. So whatever that was in Florida, that's all they care about.
So that's washing dishes, right? And what are the jobs that the immigrants had? Cleaning houses, I'm talking about undocumented, the jobs that you could get
Yes, in
that pay
Florida.
very little, right? In Florida. In
Mhm.
California, it's a lot of picking of agriculture,
Right.
right? Strawberries or harvesting
Mhm.
and getting involved with
Yes.
farming. So perhaps you're right. Perhaps those are the jobs. And I don't necessarily think that a 14-year-old can hack that.
Well, it's either that or it's going to get automated or they're going to pull people out of jail. So we already know that. So it's going to be one of those things. And in all honesty, I think it'll pass in Florida. I don't put it past them. I really don't. I don't put it past them.
I feel
Field work
really
is
bad for
backbreaking. It
children
is.
because there are some kids that are going to be forced to go do that.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that can't pay their bills unless their kids work.
Well, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen even right now with
Right.
citizens, right? Like
Yeah.
The minute like kids come home from school, you got to go
Mhm.
work. And there's some kids that are like, I can't even go to high school anymore because I have to go work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just an undocumented immigrant reality. It is, look, it's hard to live in the Bay. There's kids that have to contribute every single day. Right. Cindy says less educated and too busy to pay attention to how government works is what they want.
Yeah.
Probably. Right. They want you to be dependent. They're creating more people to be dependent. Look how many people they just fired.
So
Right?
then we go back to education being something for the wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
That good jobs
Mm-hmm.
are something for the wealthy.
Right.
Because the poor people who've been doing backbreaking work in low-paying jobs since the age of 14 during the overnight shift, never had a chance to get educated, dropped out of school because they were exhausted and had to keep it was a choice between work and school, so they had to pick work. And so they're stuck in these dead-end jobs forever. And we're back to having the people in the jobs that are the highest paying jobs in society being those that are educated, that
Mhm.
had the privilege of not having to work during school.
Yep.
And that's what they want. That's why they're cracking down on DEI and why they're letting the 14-year-olds go back to work on the overnight shift. It all seems to play into the same hand.
Well, and then it's going to require some of these kids to get creative on how they're going to work, right? I mean, and how you're going to make money. And in this day and age, the side hustle business is what a lot of these kids are going to do. I hear it all the time. I literally was sitting next to a kid today talking about becoming an entrepreneur. Want to know why? Because his parents were.
Mhm.
And he was talking about his dad was running a couple of food trucks. And he was like, I want to do that too. He wanted to do it with clothing. He wasn't talking about school. He was talking about becoming a business person, right? And we weren't poo-pooing him, right? We weren't talking about something that was unattainable to him. And in 2025, in the age of the internet, that is going to be the equalizer, good and bad, right? I mean, we talk about AI, we talk about all those sorts of things, but that is something that a lot of these quote unquote uneducated and or poor people
Mhm.
can use to make money.
Kid's gonna need some business classes. Kid's gonna need some marketing classes. Kid needs a high school degree before he goes out and does all those businessy things. I agree with Vicky.
I do too, but I'm going to tell you this, and I know that we're on this platform.
Mhm.
YouTube School teaches you a lot of stuff, and it's free. And I'm not trying to do an ad for YouTube just because we're on it, but you can learn a buttload of stuff on your own on the internet. You can.
Is that what you want for your kids, though? For them to turn around and say to you, "But mom, I learned it on YouTube."
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying,
Mhm.
I'm talking to the kids that are going to be the sacrifice of stuff
Mhm.
that's happening like in Florida, right?
Mm.
I'm talking to the people that are going to fall through the cracks here and still need to make some money. It's not going to be the same as going to a college or having all of that, right? But what I am saying is they're going to have to figure out something. You're going to have that whenever there is a hole made, a vacuum made, people have to figure out what to do. They have to fill it, right? And I think that the internet is going to have to do that for a lot of people. I really, really do. And I guess I'll bring in this story too, because it kind of fits in. Do you know we've talked about this chick, this Ruby Franke chick. I talked about the documentary. Ruby Franke was that woman who was a an influencer. She was one of those mommy bloggers that got arrested because she was basically like abusing her children.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that lady.
But she had
Yeah.
this thing that I watched on, I don't know, Netflix or something. Her children escaped, basically ratted her and the chick that she was doing it with. Yeah. These
Mhm.
family vloggers. Now, Utah has just come out with new protections for children on social media after the conviction of Ruby Franke. He's a Republican. Republican Governor Spencer Cox signed a law. Kids can remove the media they are featured in from the internet and ordered parents who make more than $150,000 off the content they make a year that includes their children
Mhm.
to set aside 15% of those earnings into a trust fund for the children that they can access when they're 18 years old. These family vloggers are making money hand over fist off the internet and not giving their kids an effing dime. I mean, I'm sure they're getting the money
We
that their
must be
kids
doing it
are.
wrong, Nikki. Maybe we need to parade our kids in front of the camera. Maybe
No,
that's what our problem is.
but I'm telling you, okay, so I don't know how many of you, okay, so my kids love this. Well, my daughter specifically loves this one family, and she's been following them for years. It's this Australian family called the Norris Nuts. Anybody? Norris Nuts? Okay, so I periodically see them. They started really, really young. They're Australian. They're cute. Their kids now, some of them are friggin' adults. It's weird now. They still have to do these effing videos. And
Why?
well, because they do these family things.
Are they
And
all getting paid for it?
they make tons of money. They're not going to
Wow.
give it up. And the parents keep having kids. Like now they still have little kids. And I'm like, and they have like a daughter that's 20 something that's still doing these friggin' videos. And I'm like, and their son, I think they only have one son and then the rest are daughters or something. The one son's Marley's age now, 16. And I'm like, this is getting odd. Like,
Mm-mm.
let these kids go. But they make tons of money. At what point do you let the cash cow go? Right? I mean, you can make, I think I Googled it. You can make it just off subscribers. Let's say you have 1 million subscribers, and some of these have multi-million, 3 million subscribers, tons. I'm sure
Yeah.
views count too, but let's just say off subscribers alone, you can make at least like $10,000 a month. Now think about branding.
Mhm.
Brands pay you. I mean, they could be making $150,000 a month. Think about that. Selling your family. I was watching one of these behind the scenes. Their whole house was like a studio. Everything was white. They lived in that house. Everything was documented. That's sick. I could
Yeah.
not live like that.
No. Mm-mm.
I
And I
could not
I
live
don't think
like
it's
that.
I don't think it's mentally healthy for the kids either.
No. But I
No.
mean, in this day and age, right? Like, I just feel like this Utah law, and Utah, I'm not judging, but Utah's sometimes behind the times, right? I'm behind this. I think that is something that a lot of people, I don't know if family vloggers should really exist. If adults want to document their lives, fine. You're a parent, you want to document your parenting, fine, but your kids shouldn't be part of it. Like, hey, I do this with my kids. Okay, but your kids aren't in it, right? Like, because I think that it's really, really a weird thing to kind of do now,
Yeah. Mhm.
right? Like back in the day, the internet was like, but now it's everything. The Norris Nuts thing that I was talking about, they go down a slide, there's a camera. They eat a meal, there's a camera. They go to the grocery store, there's a camera. They give birth, there's a camera. It's
Ugh.
weird.
There's a line you cross that's too much. You and I will talk about our kids,
Yeah, and
right?
sometimes my kids will pop in, but
Perhaps we
no.
overshare. Yeah, sometimes Julia will walk in. She did yesterday.
But that's on their
With
own
one
volition. Like, they
control.
know I'm on camera. You don't have to come in
Yeah.
here. I'm not making
No,
you come here.
absolutely not. You don't have to come and show your face. You don't
Right,
have to.
exactly. You
Yeah,
did that. I didn't
no.
do that.
There's a big difference between that and living on, what was that movie with was it Tom Hanks, where he was living in a bubble and everything he did was
Oh,
documented?
yeah. The Truman Show.
Yeah, there's a difference between chit-chatting and mentioning your kids and how they're doing or what's going on
Yeah.
versus living like the Truman Show, right? And having
Yes.
every living moment documented and everyone paying attention to your bad days, your good days, all the ups and downs of your life.
It's
And then what
weird.
happens when you don't get that attention anymore,
And what happens if your kid just doesn't want to do it anymore? And you're
right?
like, be happy. Say
Oh,
that
sorry.
again.
Judy says that was Jim Carrey, not Tom Hanks,
Oh,
and
yeah,
Judy
Jim
was
Carrey. I knew
correct.
what you were
Yeah.
talking about, though. Yeah, it was Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
was
I
Jim
mean,
Carrey.
I just feel like
Yeah.
It's
stand
a ton
corrected.
of money. I know, right? Stop it. How dare you make a mistake?
Like,
How dare
you're
you?
lame.
But yeah, it's so weird now. And I think that with the internet, and you could do, I mean, there's just so many, but going back to kind of combine the two things that we were talking about, there's so many ways to make money on the internet that
Yeah.
I do think that and I'm not trying to like sugarcoat what and not say that what Florida is doing is not messed up, but I do think that the internet is going to be the equalizer, at least in the short term. I don't know what AI and all that's going to do in the long term and changing jobs and whatever. But I do think that some people can hustle and make money, and hopefully it's not just going to be the destroyer of all things. I have no idea. I honestly don't know what the next 10, 20, 30 years is going to bring our kids and as far as jobs, right? Like you got to teach your kids how to adapt and evolve and not honestly not make their identity their job. Honestly, like that's what I tell like you need to figure out what you are that's not your job because your job's going to change probably a million freaking times. So you better adapt.
Elon Musk says, to quote the evil genius, he says, everything will be run by AI. Everything. And so he advocates for this universal income
Right.
that everyone
Yes.
just gets paid a certain amount to exist.
You're right. So
Right?
we're all going to be on the dole.
We're not going to be working.
Mhm.
We're just going to be given money to exist how we exist. And apparently
How's
that
that
will
going to work? That's
I
not
don't
going to
know.
work. How's that going to work?
It seems
Who gets to live in the
far-fetched to me.
mansion and who lives in the shack, Elon? You know what I
Thank
mean?
you.
Like
I guess the way it is when, when it starts is the way we're all going to be. There's no more upward or downward mobility. We're
that's
just
not
stuck
going to
in
work.
limbo.
He's
That'll be
so
it.
weird.
So then if that's the way it is, then the only way your kids will ever get ahead is if you start saving now.
Yeah.
So you can then will them all the money to like, have more than you had. I don't know how it works, Nikki.
I don't know. So we just don't think about those things. Like just whatever. Just it's yeah. Don't think too much about it. It'll depress the crap out of you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, teacher. Communism. Right, exactly. Like just be dependent on the government to give you the amount that you want. Isn't that what the Republicans were so afraid of with socialism, right? Is that it was going to lead to communism?
Isn't that what they call the Libby Libs? The commies,
Communists.
the red commies. Who's the
And then
communist
Elon
now?
Musk says it, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
Oh yeah,
Freaking
yeah.
morons.
Oh sure.
Oh my god.
That's how
All
it's
right.
gonna work. Yeah, he's a genius.
Okay, so
Woohoo.
we're gonna lighten it up, kind of. We're gonna have a parenting debate. You had a parenting thing. I have a parenting thing. We kind of talked about parenting, but this is not news related. Okay, I need your guys's opinion on whether I was raised terribly.
Oh no.
Because I told my mom, and my mom completely agreed with me. And maybe maybe I'm just, and I'm gonna totally use the stereotypical Italian, like what the hell, like you don't turn on family, okay, kind of thing. When I'm gonna just preface this, okay, I had a debate with my children, and it was just a random debate, okay, pulled it out of the air, okay. Here's the setup, and we're talking about young kids, okay. Just young kids. And I hope they don't hear me because they're going to come out here and they're going to read me the riot act. Okay. If Julia is dating somebody.
Okay.
Okay. And Julia.
Yes.
Not that she would ever do this. Okay.
Sure.
I'm not saying Julia would ever do something like
For
this.
the sake of argument.
For the sake of argument. Let's say that Julia cheats on her boyfriend.
Whew.
Okay. No. Okay. Oh, I have to change it. Okay. I have to change it. Okay. Let's say Jacob's dating somebody.
Okay.
And Julia knows Jacob's girlfriend. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And Julia finds out that Jacob has cheated on the girlfriend.
Sure.
Okay. Should Julia tell the girlfriend?
Is the girlfriend really good friends with Julia?
No, I mean,
Like,
they
are
know
they
each other.
Are they besties and hang out all
They're
the
not
time?
besties, but they know each other.
Mm.
Does it matter? That's the question. That's a perfect the fact that you even asked that question
Mm.
is the crux of my thing, because to me it doesn't friggin' matter. So for me, my answer was you never tell. So this was my answer. So Marley and I were having this debate. I said, if your brother or you were ever cheating on your significant other, and I'm not talking marriage here, okay? So this was the debate because you tried to throw me and James into this, and I'm like, we're not talking marriage here. We're talking high school or
Right.
whatever, even
Your
college.
chances of staying together are pretty
Whatever.
much
Yeah, we're just
non-existent anyway,
whatever.
but
Okay.
right.
So this was my thing. So and it's also sibling versus parent. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So sibling. So I was like, you should never rat out your sibling. Like you should go to your brother or sister and be like, yo, you should tell that person. You should be an upstanding person. You should urge
Mhm.
them to do the right thing. But there is no way in hell you should ever rat out your sibling.
Uh-huh.
And they both thought I was an awful person for saying that.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? I would have never ratted out my brother. Like, I don't care what my brother did. Even if I was fighting with my brother, there is
Uh-huh.
no world in which I would have ever told my brother's girlfriend that he was cheating on her. Like, I would have been like, you're an a-hole. You should
Right.
totally tell her. But no way would I ever
No.
turn on my brother, my blood. So that was my
Yeah.
whole thing. I'm like, I would never turn on my blood for a significant like a girlfriend, a boyfriend. Like, are you kidding me right now? So they're saying that I'm a terrible, awful, no good person. And I'm like, you guys would sleep with the fishes. I'm just telling you, like, if you were in the mob, you would just be sleeping with the fishes because we can't trust you in the family. Like,
So I love a good moral ethical debate. And normally I would agree with Liz, who writes here, stay out of it.
yes.
But I'll tell you right now that if I somehow came across information
Mhm.
that your husband was cheating on you, I would
Now
go
we're not talking about
directly
marriage
to
here.
you and I would tell you, I think it goes to the relationship with the person. So
But it's
most of
not
the
marriage. We're
time,
not talking marriage.
most
We're
of the time,
talking
regardless whether it's marriage or dating or a fiance or whatever, I would say it's not your business. It's their relationship. Stay out of it.
Mhm.
Right? Unless that person is very close to you, a best friend, a good friend, a sister, a family member, whoever it is, then maybe you are a little more obligated to stick your nose in. Otherwise, it's not your relationship. You don't know what the other person knows or what they don't know. And you pretty much should keep your nose out of other people's relationships and business unless someone's getting hurt
Yeah, but I mean,
physically
that's such
type
a
of
special
thing.
case. I mean, you really think your sibling is dating like one of the closest people that you ever know? I mean, that
Could
is such a
happen.
unique situation. Right. Exactly. So in that
Most of the time,
situation,
like
I'd be like, you have to tell
maybe
that person.
perhaps at this point, Marley isn't going to know most of the people in Dylan's class. And
Exactly.
so she wouldn't really feel obligated to step forward. She would just go, you're an idiot, stop cheating.
Right.
Right?
That's what I would
What are
do
you
as a
doing? Why are you
mom.
even bothering to date the person? Right. I
Exactly.
mean, I wouldn't be quiet toward the cheater.
That's what
If
I
the
said. I was like,
if
I would urge you. I'm like, I'm not raising
right,
you to be a cheater. You should
right.
totally tell that. I would
Mhm.
obviously guide my child to do the right
Yes,
thing, but
yes.
there's no way. There is no world in which and she thought I should tell. Like my daughter thought as a mother, I would tell. And I'm like, are
Here's
you
another
insane?
here's
Like,
another what if. What if Dylan was dating one of your best friend's daughters?
oh, that's
Then
interesting.
are
Would I tell
then
the
are
mom?
you yeah,
Ooh,
then are you obligated to tell your
no.
friend, "Hey, listen, my son is cheating on your daughter. This is gonna end in a big mess, and I just wanna prepare you because things will probably blow up sooner or later. Be
That
prepared
would
of what
just
you're
give
gonna
me
say."
more of a reason to tell my son that
Mm,
you have to tell. But there is no world in which I sell my family out. Like that's
wow.
I think that's my thing. Is like
Yeah,
I and I'm raising my children to do the
right.
right thing. Like
Yeah,
I will never be in a position in which my children don't do the right thing. I guess I have faith in my raising
I agree.
ability but I
Yeah,
will never
uh-huh.
never. And that's what I couldn't like. I looked at my kids and I could not be more disappointed. Like, I was like, what the are you talking about? Like, I
Yeah,
was like, you don't sell a family. Like,
yeah.
I just could not. I literally was like, you would sell out your
It
brother. You
depends
would
on
sell out your sister. I
it
was like,
depends on who
no,
your
you
person
don't
is.
do that.
I am your
No.
person. I am my sister's person.
Yes.
So in these cases, I would turn around and have your back, always have your back. And Heather says, yeah, It's a case by case basis. I don't give someone a pass for being a douche just because they're related to me. But if the person being cheated on isn't close to me, I just stay out of it. So I think that's true. But if per se you're my best friend and my brother is cheating on you,
Yeah.
but you're my person, I'm telling you.
I just feel like if my brother was dating my best friend, I would have had this conversation well when they started dating. I'd be like,
Mhm.
if you cheat on her, you know what I mean? Like there would have already been that kind of conversation. Like, don't think that I can't keep
Mhm.
it. You know what
And
I
I think
mean?
it does matter. See, we're looking at good sister-brother relationships as well,
That's
and
true.
good family relationships. Heather's like, "My sister does things to mess with and hurt people on purpose because that's the kind of person that she is. So
Oh,
I wouldn't have
well,
any guilt for telling her partner about it."
I
Yeah, I mean, and
guess.
that's the kind of person is like, who do you align with? And do you align with someone simply because of a blood relationship? Or do you align with someone because you're more connected to them in a friendship kind of way?
Yeah. I guess that's the
Mm,
point. Like, I just could never imagine. Like, there is no reality. Like, even if I was fighting with my
yeah.
brother, like I I I was flabbergasted. Like, I was just
Yeah.
so it was like, and then I actually Googled it, Kim. Like I Googled it. I was like,
You're
as a
one who's
parent,
you're having a moral quandary? Oh, no.
I was like, what does the internet think of this? And you know what the internet said? They said siblings would probably like tell, but as a
Mhm.
parent, they should stay out of it. That was the kind of the
Interesting.
consensus. Like
Yeah.
parents should stay out of it and not marriage or anything, but like
Mhm.
relationships, like parents should just stay out of it. But siblings most likely would probably tell on each other. So whatever. I was just like, maybe as a sibling, I was just raised like you back up your sibling. Like that
Yeah,
was
but you have a
just
you
how
have
I
a
was
really
raised.
good relationship with your sibling and a very close family, but not everyone has that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
And so I think we act accordingly.
Yeah, maybe. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks.
If
I
my
don't
if
I
my
don't know.
sister
I
was
don't know if it
cheating
really
on
changed
someone
anything, but
like, if my sister was cheating on someone, I always have my sister's back, no matter what.
right.
Like, that's my sister,
Yes.
that's my person.
Exactly.
But
I
that's
mean,
not
I
as
can't
like Heather
imagine.
said, that's not always the case. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not everybody
interesting
does.
thought. Speaking of parental issues,
Okay.
I was, it's kind of clicking around earlier, and I saw the Kylie Kelsey show. I think
Oh,
it's
the
called
podcast.
I'm not
Apparently it's
gonna
very
lie, is what
popular.
it's called. Very popular. And
Yes.
she's, like, almost gonna pop. She's very, very pregnant. Close to
Yes.
9 months with her 4th baby, by the way. So,
Jesus.
probably better apt to speak on pregnancy and motherhood issues than
Yes.
you or I, but she's been through it 4 times,
Uh,
right? And she was saying that she'd been seeing on the internet that people that say she was talking about birth plans, and she said her only birth plan is to have a very large needle put in her spine, right? 'Cause she's the
yes.
kind of person that wants to be
Yes, an
medicated.
epidural. Yeah.
Fine, good for you, do
Right.
it. It's funny, when I got pregnant with Julia, everyone tries to give you advice, and I
Mhm.
remember my sister-in-law saying, "Take the medicine. People will
Yes.
tell you, 'Don't take the medicine.'" She said, "You're not hurting anyone but yourself. Take the
Exactly.
medicine," right?
Yes.
And then other people would say, "Oh, don't do medicine. You wanna do natural childbirth. You wanna get through the end of it and feel so proud of yourself, blah, blah, blah." Whatever. She was saying, have your own birth plan, be your own person. The only person that is gonna be judged should be judging you for that birth plan is you.
Exactly.
PS, and we both know this, your birth plan never works out the way you want
Goes
your
out the
birth plan
window.
to work out.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
don't be married to that birth plan because it's gonna, half of it's not gonna happen the way you want it to. But then she was saying she was seeing things online where people were saying if you have a C-section, be it emergency or scheduled, that you somehow have less of a birth experience or you didn't go through
Oh,
childbirth or you're
stop.
somehow it's less
Did the baby
of a
come out of your body? You gave birth. Come
she
on
said
now.
it doesn't matter whether the baby comes out the top or the bottom. The baby still came out of you and you still made a human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's just
I have
funny how
seen a
judgy people are.
section. That is insane. I am sorry.
Uh-uh.
You had your organs taken out of your body and put back in. It is insane. It is
Nikki says
absolutely
natural
insane.
childbirth was invented by a man. I had one of each, I will say. I had the one baby the natural way, and I had one baby the C-section way because it was an emergency. And
Mm-mm.
you know what? At the end of it,
You had a baby.
whatever happened, I had a baby. I had
Mhm.
a baby that came out of me. I had time. I had a recovery process, and then I had
Exactly.
to feed and care for an infant. So
Yep.
I don't think it matters, honestly, how you get there, as long as you get there with everyone healthy.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, the first one I had a birth plan. I show up. I was here because it was at
Yeah.
a wedding. I was supposed to be in Sacramento, so I didn't have my doctor, but I did
Mhm.
have my birth plan. Nurse was pissed at all hell at me because I was there too early, but I wasn't going to leave because I was not home. And yeah, I kept saying I didn't want an epidural because it was part of my birth plan. Yeah, I was begging for it,
Yeah.
begging for it. 2 days, 2 days of labor. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
stupid. And so, but with Dylan, I had the epidural, and yeah, it was magical. I actually had that what they call a walking epidural. So I was like rocking in a rocking chair. And then he's like, okay, let's walk over to the bed. And I don't know why I thought he was like, you can stand up because I was like not fully capable. And I stood up and then I couldn't stand up all the way. And so I just dragged my entire body down the body of my doctor until I fell on the floor.
Wow.
It's the memory that my husband always teases me about. He was a very buff gay doctor, very buff. Yeah. Dr. Jalot, shout out in Sacramento. I don't know if he works there anymore, but yeah,
Totally,
he's like, what's happening? I'm like, I have no feeling in my legs. I cannot stand anymore. So I just like slid all the way down his body.
totally TMI. But Julia kind of had gotten stuck,
Oh, yeah.
and I was going slow, like a little push here, a little push there.
Uh,
And the doctor, apparently her heart rate was going down.
no.
And the doctor looked at me, and I know, that, I don't know if you've ever seen this look in a medical professional's eye when
Ugh.
it becomes an emergency
Oh,
and they
that's not the
mean
sight you
business.
want to see. Yeah.
Maybe it's from working in an emergency room during
Mhm.
college, but she looked at me and she had this look in her eye like, and I remember her saying, and David said she did not say this, but I swear she did, "You need to push this baby out right now."
Right. Well, maybe you were
And
thinking that in your head.
she had an emergency look in her eye, and I thought, "She means I need to get this baby out
Yep.
now." And so, with everything in me, with all the power vested in my body,
The power of Grayskull.
I grabbed onto the bar and I pushed. And I mean, I must have pushed really bad because Julia shot
Shot
out
out.
of me like a rocket. I remember the doctor not being able to catch her, like she was a slip and slide. And I broke her clavicle. I pushed her out so hard. She
Oh,
was born with a
damn.
broken clavicle. Like, I mean, I gave it everything I had. I saw and the minute Julia came out, the door opened and the C-section team walked in.
Oh, there you
So
go.
they really did mean like, we need to get her out now or else we're cutting
Or
you
you're
open. And
cutting you
I didn't
open.
hear that part of it. I just saw the look in her eye and I was like, oh shit, I
Well,
guess
there we
this means
go.
business. Yeah.
Oh, well, a little broken clavicle. You got her
TMI
out.
birth stories. There you
There you
go.
go.
Uh,
Yikes. Yikes is right, Vanessa. Like, damn. Well, you know what? As long as you have a nice, healthy baby at the end, that's all anybody ever needs. So
and I
there you
remember
go.
the pediatrician going, how did her clavicle get broken? Like they're looking at me like I'm a baby abuser. And I was like, that was childbirth. And
You're like,
they had to go
exactly.
back and look at the chart. Like, really? Yeah.
Nope.
That was
There you
childbirth.
go. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
One more. Well, since we're talking about hospitals and everything, who has a 23andMe? Anybody?
Oh, yeah,
Did
no.
anybody? You never had one, did you? Did anybody?
Mm-mm.
I had one.
I had privacy concerns.
I
Did you
should.
have one?
You,
Yeah, you did
well,
have
you
one.
know why I did it is because I had a endorsement for one of those home medical things, and it was included in it. It was like
Okay.
a at-home doctor, thingy. And so they
Okay.
included a 23andMe thing. And so I did it. Yeah, I did it too, Liz. I deleted all of my data. So if you haven't heard,
Ooh.
delete all your data. They're going bankrupt. I don't know though if I believe that they haven't already downloaded all of my data. And then someday I'm just not going to be.
I'm surprised that they're going bankrupt because I thought people really loved that.
I think that people just kind of got over it. I
Mhm.
think the novelty of it all, plus I think the Golden State Killer thing kind of probably got people. So if you don't know, the Golden State Killer, right? Like, I mean, I think it was like just the advancements of all of this DNA and connecting people to past stuff and opening cases. I think people were like, maybe it's not such a great idea for me to
It is
have all of my stuff
it is
online.
interesting. But I think once your DNA evidence is out there in the world, they probably archived it somewhere, right?
Yeah. I mean, with the advances that they're making nowadays, I don't know. I did like it. I did download a bunch of stuff. I did, see where I was quote unquote from. The truth of the matter is, we're all just freaking a
Look
mix
at
of
this
so
from
much stuff.
Nancy. My ex did it and has a grown son he didn't even know about and found him.
I didn't find anything interesting like that. Did anyone else find anything shocking? That is cool, Nancy. Jose says, didn't know how accurate it was if they asked where your family is from. Um, who was it? I think it was, I don't know, it was like a Kardashian or something. They said, I'm so boring. It was like all Europe.
Oh,
That's funny.
Vanessa.
Oh
She
no.
said, I found
Stop.
out my dad wasn't my biological father thanks to 23andMe. Vanessa. I mean, you're
I'm
still the same Vanessa you were before, right?
right.
You're still awesome, but that's quite a shocker.
Oh my goodness. Did your dad not know either? You don't have to say it, but I mean that's shocking. I would be totally shocked. Um,
Heather found a cousin she never knew existed.
wow.
Wow, that's
My
pretty
mom's
cool.
brother died in 1984. Nobody knew he had a kid. My mom was over the moon to find out. I mean, so I guess there's some really good stories that came from it. My
Mhm.
mother-in-law used to love to do the genealogy that was, I guess, before 23andMe. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if they sell your data. You're going to walk around and tell everyone how many percent you are Irish and black and purple. Yeah, exactly. I have
Yeah.
it printed. I printed it out somewhere. Hey, it's kind of cool. Ancestry keeps changing my ethnicities. My dad found out when I did.
Oh god.
Was your
Oh,
mom is your mom alive? Did she have some answers? I feel like I'm in the middle of a soap opera.
I know, that's harsh.
That's really harsh. Wow,
Vanessa has
Vanessa.
Vanessa has to come on and tell us, even if you don't wanna use the video. If you're so inclined, Vanessa, I'm putting the link in the chat to join us.
Oh,
That's wild. I can't even imagine that. I'm
that's
so sorry that happened to you. That had to be really a traumatic event to
I mean,
realize at that moment that everything you thought, because who you are, like where you're from, and it kind of all goes to who you are in the world. And if that's shaken, that can be pretty scary. And I think that's a big trauma. So
well,
yeah.
and also like people are like, "Oh, I totally get that trait from my mom or my dad or something like that." You know what I mean? Nancy says my ex was 20 when he fathered his son. It was before I knew him.
Look at all
Uh,
these stories, though. My friend was an only child and found out her dad had a daughter he didn't know about back in
wow.
1918. And Heather, a friend of mine, found 6 unknown half siblings.
Damn.
So there's that. Her dad was a total hoe. Wow. Oh my gosh, we have to welcome Vanessa to the show.
Oh my goodness.
Vanessa.
Oh, Vanessa, you are going to have to tell
Hi.
this story. Yay. Thank you for joining us. That is a crazy story, my friend.
It's so good to see your face.
Yeah, no, I found out it was about 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And my mom claims that she wasn't sure. Oh, maybe it was my dad, or maybe it was her first cousin. But my dad doesn't think it's true because he thinks my mom's first cousin, who was his best friend in high school, was trying way too hard, way too fast to set him up with my mom.
Interesting. So,
Wow.
do you know who the real biological father is due to
Yeah,
23andMe? Oh, you
yeah,
do
it's
know.
it's my mom's first cousin.
Okay. Okay. And did you have you contacted that person at all or no?
Well, I knew him. I mean, growing up, he was my dad's best friend.
Wow.
Wow. And did you ever have an inkling or did he have an inkling? Like, was there ever any sort of like, maybe?
I don't know if he knew. I mean, if he did, he never let
Said
on to
anything.
me.
Wow.
Are
Do you
you
have a
glad?
relationship?
No, no, we don't. I mean, my dad let him know that he knew, but he hasn't tried to reach out or anything. I mean, we had a relationship somewhat through my dad when I was growing up, but but since he found out or my dad told him, it's been radio silence.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Here's the
Oh,
question for you. Are you glad you know, or do you wish that that whole 23
yeah.
and me thing had never been done and you just were blissfully ignorant of the whole thing?
I kind of wish I didn't know. I mean, just because it means that, because my mom left when I was 3, so that means that the
No.
whole family that raised me weren't really my family. That my dad was forced to drop out of college to take care of me, and I wasn't really his problem.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I bet he wouldn't have had it any other way.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. He said, you're my daughter no matter what.
Right.
But still,
And
I
that
just
is your
kinda
family no
feel
matter what.
there's that sense
Yeah.
of guilt that, geez,
Mhm.
my dad and my grandmother kind of threw their whole lives away to take care of me.
Oh
Yeah.
no, but I mean, they got the best because they got you. But yeah, that's a crazy story. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that, Vanessa. I mean,
Yeah,
these are the
thank
things that
you.
come out from the technology advancing like that.
Mhm. And again, you saw in the chat, you're not the only one that had big surprises,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, no, there's a whole group on Facebook of us who found out things.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, there's a whole bunch of people that they're NPEs, not parent expected, and so there's a whole bunch of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That must be cool. Like that, you can all kind
Yeah.
of talk together and
Yeah,
experience, right?
yeah.
Mhm. Vanessa, you're awesome for coming on with us. Thank you so much. It's so good to see your
Thanks.
face, and
I
we're so glad to have
know.
you as part of the
Oh,
show.
thanks.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Very
Thanks for
cool.
being here.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool that she came on. I love it. I love
That
it.
is a crazy story. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But again, like, I mean, if I was raising somebody and then I found out, I mean, I think my mind would definitely be blown. But
Mhm.
yeah, teacher Lori, thanks for being so open and coming on the show. I think
I
23andMe has to create those kind of groups, those NPEs. Like, wow, that's
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
I
And
just
exactly. Not a
I just
waste.
feel like yeah, I feel like that person who raised you, that family you grew up with, would still
Hmm.
be your family, would still be
Oh,
important,
yeah.
would still be your roots because that's who you are.
Hmm.
Those are the important people in your life,
Well,
regardless of
yeah.
what a DNA on a piece of paper says, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, and they're the people that stepped up and raised you. I mean,
Mhm.
there is nobody that's going to raise a child from birth and then all of a sudden a piece of paper says, "Oh, they're not your blood relative." And you're like, "Oh, well, bye." Like, no.
Yeah.
No, they love you, right? And
Yeah.
so absolutely, but I'd still an
That's a hard one,
insane.
though. What
Can you imagine opening?
she's really brave to share that story with
Thank
us.
you
I think
so
that's
much,
really cool.
Vanessa.
Yeah.
That is,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you so much. I can't
Yeah.
imagine opening up an envelope. And you just think you're going to find out, how much African or European or whatever you have in you, and then it says something insane like that. Exactly, Heather. You don't
Yeah.
flip a switch on something like that.
No.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
Exactly. Well, thank you again, Vanessa. That was
Yeah.
just so, so sweet. Yeah. Well, Yvonne, you gotta watch the whole entire show because this was a great show. And thank you guys so much for being here. We do this every Thursday night. It is Cocktails and News with Kim, myself, and all of you, and some great stories like Vanessa shared. So if you guys want
Mhm.
to continue seeing this show every Thursday, we would really appreciate you guys supporting the show in any way you can. We have some thank yous. Pamela was here, $5 donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you for starting us off. And if you go to the show notes, the NikkiMadoroShow.com is also another place where you can find ways to support the show because we are 100% crowdfunded and we can't do the show without you. So if you want to continue to see us, please do.
Before
Um,
before you
mm,
end things, can I
mhm,
just tell you there's a story
mhm.
that I really, really wanted to play, and I
Oh,
haven't been
please.
able to play it. Did you see I know I'm struggling to find it. I should have
Oh,
brought
which
it
one
up.
is it?
Okay, so it's the story about Mike Myers. Did you see this at all?
No.
Okay, so Mike Myers is Canadian,
Yes.
and he goes up to Canada, and he's talking to the new Prime Minister of Canada. It's this video that I have to show you. And he says to the prime minister, I just thought I'd come up. Here it is. It's called Elbows Up Canada. And elbows up is this hockey term where when you're ready to, you have to defend yourself. They say elbows up, like you're going to defend yourself, right?
Right.
So I have the video. So Mike Myers goes up to Canada and he does this kind of ad spot, whatever, with the prime minister of Canada.
Mhm.
And it's, I have to show, it's basically kind of hooray, hurrah for Canada kind of thing. And I can't, and we have to end the show on an up note.
Yes,
So
please.
let me show you this. This is Mike Myers' video. And here it is.
Let's go. Mr. Prime Minister, Mike Myers, what are you doing here? I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You live in the States.
Yeah, but I'll always be Canadian.
But you live in the States.
Yeah, so? Do you remember Mr. Dressup, the children's show on CBC? What were the names of Mr. Dressup's two puppet friends? Casey and Finnegan, Bud the Spud, Howie, Meeker, Capital Central, Regina, Tragically, Pip. You're a defenseman, defending a 2-on-1. What do? Take away the pass, obviously. What are the 2 seasons in Toronto? Winter and construction. Wow, you really are Canadian. Yeah. But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right, elbows up.
Elbows up.
Never
Wow.
51. Like never the 51st state, right?
That is so good.
I can take it away.
Mr. Prime
No, I can't
Minister,
take it. You're gonna have to watch it
Mike
again
Myers?
over and over and
What are you
over
doing
again in
here?
perpetuity. There it is.
I
I thought that
you
was
know,
funny.
I think that's so good. And you
Mhm.
know what? And I'm just going to throw this also in here because, and I still want to leave it on an up note, but you know, Trump came out today also and says, we're going to do whatever necessary to take Greenland, including
Yeah.
Denmark. I mean, nobody signed up for this. I'm just saying United States, vote for Trump to take Canada or Greenland. It was eggs, right? I mean, it was all this sort of stuff.
Well,
No, that wasn't on the platform, was Canada and Greenland. So,
campaign that he was going to be the most peaceful president ever, right? He was going to end all the wars with one phone call, and we were going to be at a time of peace, and this was going to be
exactly.
great. And
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, we're going to take Canada and Greenland and Panama by any means necessary kind of situation. No,
Right, exactly. And
don't be
it's
mean to
just
Canada. We love you, Canada. I'm looking upward. We love
exactly.
you, Canada.
Like the universal
Yeah.
up to Canada. And we don't want Canada to be the
Mhm.
51st state. Like we just want
No.
Canada to be our ally again. So
Right.
hopefully the next 4 years kind of goes a hell of a lot quickly. A hell of a lot
Elbows
more
up,
quickly.
Canada. That's
Yeah,
right.
elbows up. There you go. Stay
Mhm.
up there and please stay nice. Please just stay nice to us and let's not make any more enemies out there. All right. All right. That is our show. Please support the show any way you can. We love being here. Also, we have a delicious sponsor. Auntie Tabby's Island Flavor is a barbecue sauce. She supports us if you support her. AuntieTabby's.com is a place to go. It is, and if you use the coupon code Nick Kim, NIKKIM, you get 10% off every single time you order. The guava barbecue sauce is delicious on beef, chicken, fish, chicken nuggets, whatever you want to use it on. It's absolutely delicious. And so go to AuntieTabby's.com to support us and Auntie Tabby. Also, in the show notes, you will find all the links to all of our socials, the show notes, and ways to support us. Share the show also with your friends because we always want to grow our show as well.
We're trying to get to 5,000
Yes,
subscribers.
5,000.
So
We're getting there. We're getting there one subscriber at a time. So
if
we're
you haven't
almost
clicked
there.
subscribe, click that subscribe on the way
Yes.
out. Please click the like button. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Exactly. And we love you guys. We will be here next Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific. We love you. Thank you guys so much. Take care of each other. Bye-bye. Mwah.
Nikki, you're oh so awesome. You're sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're oh so awesome.
Wow. Okay.